Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the March and Silva MMA show, and quite possibly, one of the biggest shows that we'll probably have all year round. What a weekend it is for combat sports. Paul versus Woodley, Edson Barboza versus Giga Chikadze. Oh my God, we're in for a fantastic weekend, and I'm joined by Oscar to talk all about it. So how's it going over there in America?
It's going awesome, man. We have a spectacular weekend ahead of us, but it could really be an unfortunate end depending on the result of Paul versus Woodley. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But we had some spectacular fights over at the UFC at the Apex Center last Saturday. Let's go right into that. Jared Cannonier fought Kelvin Gastelum in the main event, and once again, I told you guys, win or lose, Kelvin Gastelum will take a beating from Jared Cannonier. And he did. He got knocked down. But Kelvin Gastelum once again showed that he has that championship heart. He just popped right back up and started throwing combos. And in my opinion, he looked a little more impressive to end that round. But yeah, that was a very competitive fight. And Kelvin Gastelum should not be ashamed of himself, especially after losing 5 of his last 6, but to elite guys, truly elite guys. Kelvin Gastelum could be a top 5 guy at welterweight, but unfortunately, it's not his time at middleweight. He's only 29, so he could always improve. But yeah, it's not looking the best for Kelvin Gastelum as of late. But you have to compliment Jared Cannonier's performance in a 5-round setting against Kelvin. Everybody thought that the last 2 rounds would go to Kelvin. They did not, and he also stuffed every takedown. So how could you not be impressed with Jared Cannonier in his first 5-round main event?
Yeah, I thought it was very impressive. As you mentioned there, the durability and the toughness from Kelvin Gastelum was really on show in this fight. He got hit. What was it? That right hand? Was it the right hook? And oh my God, I thought that could be, the start and the end of the fight. But Kelvin Gastelum is just too tough for his own good. And the way he just popped straight back up, and as you mentioned, just started coming back with combinations. You've got to credit Kelvin Gastelum in his heart, and his chin as well. His chin is absolutely phenomenal. But you got to look at, where does Kelvin Gastelum go from here? Is it a move back down to 170? Yes, he did miss weight, 185 pounds, so that's probably out of options there. He's probably not going to go down to 170 if we're being honest. But maybe he gets back in, goes lesser competition against so get some wins, stacks up some wins, then goes another run back at it. But I don't know, man. He's in a bit of a weird position at the moment. It's not looking great for him. As you mentioned, 5 of his last 6, losses. It's not very good for Kelvin at the moment. But what we saw on the weekend, he's still an elite fighter, but he's just, he's still only 29 years of age, which is crazy, because I feel like I've been watching Gastelum for years and years and years, which we have. So it's crazy to think that he's only 29 and he's only ever going to improve. He just needs to get some wins behind the belt. Maybe, a change of camp or something like that could help Kelvin Gastelum. But he is good over there at King's MMA.
That's actually what he did for this camp. He went over to Fight Ready MMA with Henry Cejudo and the coach Alberto Albarracin, and he worked on his wrestling there, and he got to change the scenery. He got some different looks, and it showed that he was a better fighter in there, but it still wasn't enough to beat a fighter as good as Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier, his skill set just continues to improve, even though he's already 37. I think the time is now for Jared Cannonier to set himself up for a title shot. He should probably be fighting the winner of Darren Till versus Derek Brunson coming up on September 4th. So that's what I would like to see for Jared Cannonier. He mentioned that he was broke, an unfortunate, view of the sport, but he needs to get in there and he needs to fight. And I think he can get some spectacular knockouts on his way to a title shot against Adesanya. So I think we're probably going to see Jared Cannonier get a title shot in 2022 if he continues fighting this way.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, he said he was broke and he said he would like to fight again, maybe possibly by the end of the year. So maybe seeing what happens with Darren Till versus Derek Brunson, that could be a possible opponent for him next.
Yeah, if Darren Till gets a quick KO, that's a legitimate possibility. So that would be ideal. Ken Neer versus Darren Till, because those are the two guys that Adesanya has specifically said he's interested in fighting because he's not fought them yet.
Yeah. Well, you got to rate Israel Adesanya. He's fought like nearly everyone in the middleweight division, but I feel like Robert Whittaker, the rematch, Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker has to be next at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, it's getting delayed until next year, but when it happens, it's going to be very intriguing, especially since Robert Whittaker has fallen in love with the gi again. So that'll be another conversation for another time. Right now, we're talking about the co-main event between Clay Guida and Marco Manson. My goodness, how can you not be impressed with Marco Manson standing with Clay Guida the entire fight and getting more volume going, which was really impressive. I thought if it was on the feet, Guida would have a shot at getting a knockout, but unfortunately, Clay Guida was just bouncing around a lot and letting Marco Manson continuously jab him. And so, yeah, that's what led Marco Manson to get a win here without a single takedown. So that's really impressive for a guy only 3 years deep who was a Greco-Roman wrestler to win with striking against a guy as much of a seasoned veteran as Clay.
Yeah, I was as you mentioned there. It was surprising to see Marco Manson, really stand in this fight. So I feel like heading into this fight, I think Manson wanted to really, put on a performance and kind of showcase, his striking is improving against a guy who's Guido, who's very awkward on the feet. He's always bouncing around, as you mentioned, comes in at awkward angles. His timing is very different to the natural striker. And it was Marco Manson, used that jab to perfection. And it was, the scorecards maybe look closer than it maybe actually was, but it was a good fight for Marco Manson. His striking, he really showcased his striking in this fight, and we can see the evident improvement fight by fight for Mark. But maybe in the next fight he goes back to his bread and butter, because that's what he's really good at.
Yeah, certainly. Clay Guida has some underrated wrestling. Remember, he beat Pettis back in the day. Nate Diaz as well. He's really used his wrestling to benefit him back in the day, and to this day, his defense is effective too. So that's at least a moral victory for Clay. Moving on, we had one hell of a heavyweight slugfest between Parker Porter and Chase Sherman. This was about as sloppy as it gets in the late couple rounds. This is a Parker Porter fight. Parker Porter loves to fight this way. Parker Porter broke his own record of most strikes landed in a heavyweight fight. So Parker Porter can fight at a pace that other heavyweights simply can't. And he used it to beat Chase Sherman here. And this is a fight where I thought Chase Sherman was going to run over Parker Porter. I thought Parker Porter didn't have the durability. But once again, Chase Sherman, he has a really lackluster performance. And after USADA caught him doping, you gotta question if that may have played a role in his previous impressive victories.
Yeah, I agree with you. This one really defined me. I thought Chase Sherman was going to go in there, get the short stop and get a quick stoppage, and have a really, a quick night at the office. But Parker Porter dragged him into a dogfight, and that's the fight that he wants. And oh my God. The heavyweights shouldn't have the pace of Parker Porter. Parker Porter was going for days. I don't know where his cardio is, because he doesn't look like he should have a lot of cardio. The broadcast were making a joke. Don't judge a book by its cover, because oh man, Parker Porter, he could go for days, and it's just it's incredible. His cardio was fantastic. He threw 294 strikes. Surely that's unheard of for a heavyweight. That's ridiculous.
100%. Parker Porter is simply a different breed. I think he gives a lot of these one-round heavyweights some serious problems if he can get him out of the first round, and that's what he did with Chase Sherman. And you got to give him props after a performance like that.
Yeah, 100%. Another person that we could give props to, pronounce the name.
Saidi Okub Kakramanov.
Yeah, a fantastic performance from him. On short notice, if I remember rightly, he did miss weight, but that didn't really affect his performance against Trevor Jones as well, who I was quite highly of in his first two fights, as we mentioned. He knocked out Timo Valiev, then knocked out.
He knocked out Who was it? Mario Batista. Yes, Mario
There you
Batista.
go, Mario Batista. The guy has some power. In that first round, I thought, maybe Jones would see Jones take over a little bit. Oh, man, I was completely wrong. Sadiokov looked brilliant, and he got that submission in the third round, guillotine choke. I thought in them 3 rounds, he was the better fighter, and it was clear and evident.
Yeah, Asaidio Kub missed weight because he was cutting weight in the air. He was in his native country of I don't know, but I believe it was an Arab country very far away, and he was cutting weight in the air.
What's the country? He's fighting Gerald Mershot this weekend.
Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, I don't
I
know,
think
one of those. But Saidio Kub Kakramanov should not be misjudged by that weight cut. I think almost any fighter would miss weight if they fought under those circumstances. But how could you not like the guy? Trevin Jones is a monster. He beats a lot of guys. He knocks them out, and Saidio Kub was not to be denied. Also, something that affected Trevin Jones's performance was he was in limbo for 2 months. I believe he had around 5, 6 opponents that fell out within 6 months. This guy was constantly cutting weight. This is almost a Tony Ferguson situation where the guy made weight before he even fought. So yeah, that definitely affected his performance. Very unfortunate for him, but he took on all comers, and you have to respect him for that. But Saidu Kakramanov strangled the guy in the third round after Jones was basically just stalling, hoping to get a decision after he gassed out. So that's real hard from Saidu Kub to get a submission like that. Very impressive. Very
Yeah,
impressive.
very impressive. Yeah, a great performance. Another performance that was very impressive, and I thought wouldn't go, his way. Vince Bichelle put on a great performance against Austin Hubbard. In all honesty, I thought Austin Hubbard was going to win this fight, and oh man, this is why you don't follow, don't say what I say seriously, because clearly I'm not good enough. Because Vince Bichelle put on a fantastic performance, 30-27 on all boards of the judges. Fantastic performance. What do you make of that, Oscar?
Yeah, Vince Bichelle really won this fight with his striking. I thought his path to victory was to mix things up with a takedown, and it was actually Hubbard going for more takedowns later on. Bichelle nearly finished Hubbard in the second round, but we've seen that Hubbard is a tough guy in his previous fights. Bichelle was looking sharper than ever, and this is another guy who's over 35, and he's looking to be in his best form against a guy who's really young. So Bichelle used his veteran savvy to really surpass Hubbard in the striking department. So yeah, Vince Bichelle, he's gonna move on to bigger things after this. His only losses in the UFC are to Rustam Khabilov and to Gregor Gillespie. So that's nothing to hang your head on. So I think it'll be big things in the future for Vince Bichelle.
100%. It was a fantastic performance. He looked good in all 3 rounds, and clearly the judges agreed. But one thing I would say is keep that mustache, Vince. I think it looks brilliant. I think that mustache is fantastic. He needs to keep that. I think it suits him, his persona. I think it looks cool. But moving on to a fight that was crazy for the first 2 rounds. I mean, Panjota versus Royval. A fantastic fight for while it lasted.
Yeah, how could you not love watching Brendan Royval fight? The guy will always be the guy who takes the risks, even when some might not suggest it. Royval really cares about entertaining the fans, and that's what he did here. But betting on Royval is not a smart move because the guy always puts himself in bad positions trying to entertain. And that's what he did here again. And he tangled with simply a better grappler in Alexander Pantoja. And he got subbed with that rear naked choke in the second. Pantoja is going to get a title shot, I believe, against Brandon Moreno, possibly in December. They had those the two yapping back and forth at the post-fight interview. It was very friendly, but nonetheless, there's a real storyline in there, and it's the perfect fight for Brandon Moreno because what was the storyline with Brandon Moreno after he won the belt? My goodness, the adversity this guy has faced. Got cut by the UFC, and who was the guy who handed him 2 losses in that first round in the UFC? Pantoja. Pantoja beat him by unanimous decision, and also submitted him with an arm triangle. So Pantoja has really been the thorn in Brandon Moreno's side. And can Brandon Moreno get his revenge and really solidify himself as a proper champion? That will be the big question. That's why a lot of people were talking about Askar should get the shot. But I think Pantoja is actually the perfect fight, to be honest.
Yeah, in this fight, I don't know why, I thought Brendan Royval was clearly the better striker in this fight. If he kept the fight standing, I feel like he could have got the finish. There was evidently clear that he was more fluid with his strikes, more technical. Pantoja just didn't look comfortable on his feet, but as soon as he got the fight to the ground, it was just a whole different level. The scrambles between these two men was just absolutely crazy. It was such a fantastic watch. And if you don't like that sort of stuff, you shouldn't be watching MMA. You should watch kickboxing because, I love scrambles like that. And I really thrive for that. And there shouldn't be anyone who didn't like that fight. That fight was so entertaining.
Yeah, Brandon Royval, I'll label him now as the most entertaining grappler in the UFC.
100%. But that was it for the main card. It was a fantastic main card. But you said off air, it was really the prelims.
Yeah, the prelims really brought the heat. If there was a fight of the night bonus handed out, it was probably going to be between Austin Lingle and Luis Saldana. These guys fought at an incredible pace, and they both showed off their toughness in this fight. The first round was a borderline 10-8 for Luis Saldana. He pieced up Lingle. He had him hurt bad. I thought maybe he would get a stoppage in the second, but he just overexerted himself, and Austin Lingle just threw bombs over and over, and they kept on landing to Luis Saldana. And in that third round, it was looking a little close, the determining round of the fight. And what happens? Lingle lands a perfect body shot at Saldana, drops him, and Saldana just could not get his momentum back after that. So you have to respect Austin Lingle's toughness and his superior cardio that won him this fight.
100%, I agree. It was the cardio, the story of the fight in this matchup. Austin Lingle just had that little bit left in the tank, got him over the line. But in the next one, we had Brian Kelleher versus Pilate, and oh my god, this was a shutout for Brian Kelleher. We were both expecting a knockout quick for Brian Kelleher to catch him clean, but Brian Kelleher had different plans. He wanted to wrestle for 15 minutes.
Yeah, Brian Kelleher, I told you guys, my most confident pick of the night. He was at minus 170. I thought he deserved to be up to minus 300 or something like that. I thought he was better everywhere than Pilate. And he showed that here with straight up dominance. He even picked the guy up and walked across the octagon. He manhandled him. He dominated this fight. And he played it smart. He didn't take any risks he didn't need to. And he got an easy win here. It was basically drama-free for Kelleher. Got stuck in an arm triangle for a second or two, but besides that, Kelleher won every minute of the fight. So Kelleher looked better than ever. And as I said, Pilate, he's got a lot of stuff to work on. And
look at these fantastic prelims that we had on show. Both of us, we gave Nunes no chance in this fight. Both of us did. Yeah, basically. And oh my god, she reminds me of a more powerful Jessica Andrade. It's weird because Bay Maleki's defense, her striking defense, just wasn't there. It looked like after about halfway in the round, she was tired. She was gassed. It looked like she had nothing in the tank. And ultimately, she dropped her hands because she was that tired. She couldn't pick up her hands to defend herself. And then Nunes, with the big bombs over the top, puts her out cold. And that was the story of the fight. But, oh, my God, Nunes, she's a little machine.
Yeah, we kind of played a fool's game, picking Bay Maleki because of her UFC experience. But at the end of the day, she was only 4-0, man. She showed a lot of inexperience in this fight. If she doesn't change some things, she will be remembered as the female Stefan Struve, where she fights way too close to her opponents. She keeps her chin up in the air, and that's what happened here. This was a Mark Hunt Stefan Struve moment where the shorter fighter straight up slapped the taller fighter. Josiane was very impressive here, and she herself was getting tired, but she just had a little more left in the gas tank to uncork that bomb and knock out Bea Malecki for the first time in her combat sports career. So, yeah, Josie and Nunes, she will give a lot of girls problems in this division simply because of her crazy power, which she showed off here. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to Josie and Nunes' next fight because she can end it with one punch, as we saw.
Yeah, someone else with some crazy power and they can end it in one punch. That name is William Knight. He can end it in any punch he wants, any strike, whenever, whatever minute the fight is. But in this fight, what I saw was different from William Knight. He was more patient with his strikes. I felt like he was just looking for, the strike that that lands and puts him out, and he found it. 3 minutes and 58 seconds into the first round. He seemed, a little bit more patient, maybe a little bit timid to throw his strikes, but all it takes is one for William to for land, and that's it. It's lights out. And Fabio Sharon felt that, and he had his lights put out.
Yeah, I thought Fabio Sharon would have a cleaner striking, but at the end of the day, that does not matter when you have a man as powerful as William Knight in front of you, and William Knight got the walked backward and caught him with the left hook, and it was lights out, and that was as impressive as it gets. I've never been more impressed by the William Knight here, and I still think he should go. Maybe think about a move to middleweight. Maybe lose a little bit of muscle because it's very apparent to me that he's he's a little too short for this division, and he's gonna get overpowered by some guys simply because of size. But William Knight will defeat a lot of these lower level light heavyweights with his raw power, and that's what he did here.
You mentioned short, and moving down because he's too short. Two fighters that are not too short for the division: Roosevelt Roberts and Baja Mondes. These two are massive, absolutely massive for lightweight. And oh man, it 5 seconds to go. Who does it? Who throws a spinning wheel kick with 5 seconds to go in the fight? Baja Mondes throws a wheel kick with 5 seconds to go, and oh my god, it landed, and he's probably produced. I'm going to say it now. He's probably produced knockout of the year.
Yeah, I'll say it as well. Baja Mondes is a different breed, man. This guy will try to finish you for every second of the fight. And I thought he was going to be outmatched on the ground by Roosevelt Roberts, but Roberts he kept on getting his takedown stuffed, and he was also getting hit to the body over and over again. So he carried his hands low, and that created a wonderful opening for Ignacio to land the wheel kick, reminiscent of Barboza and Terry Edom. And yeah, how could you not love Bahamondes' style? It's so high volume. In the preview, I said Bahamondes could easily outvolume Roberts here, and that's what he did. And he got the cherry on top with the crazy spinning wheel kick to end things. And he got the well-deserved performance of the night bonus. I'm officially on the Bahamondes train, man. Every time this guy fights, he goes to war, and that's what he did here. And he's awesome, man. I love the guy.
The only problem that we could face in the future is he's got the same sort of skin as a Nate Diaz, and a Nick Diaz. Yep. Every time he gets hit, there's a cut kind of reopens itself. But man, who throws a spinning wheel kick with 5 seconds to go? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's got a lot of scar tissue. As he said before, he's been sparring. He's been training in combat sports for a long time. So yeah, that probably could be bad for him, especially if he fights in New York with those shady doctors. But hopefully he'll stay fighting in Vegas for the foreseeable future. And hey, a little blood in the octagon. Who doesn't like to see it, man? It always makes for a cooler looking fight. And talking about somebody that had a really cool finish, Ramiz Brahimaj. We called it to a T. We gave you specific details and how he would do it. We both said first round submission, and just being a little more confident, I said first round rear naked choke, and that's what happened here. I told you guys that Sasha Palatnikov, he's really doesn't have a UFC level submission defense. That's what happened here. As soon as Ramiz Brahimaj got the second takedown, and he locked it in, Sasha Palatnikov fought with everything he could, but yeah, he just fell asleep in there. And yeah, he's a tough guy, but Ramiz Brahimaj was levels above in the ground game.
Yeah, credit to Sasha because God knows how he stayed in that choke for so long without going to sleep. It was incredible. But eventually he did go to sleep. And as you mentioned, you put it down to a T. You gave him the Pacifics. You gave him the actual submission, and he got the submission. So, and it was a rear naked choke for Ramiz Bahamic, or whatever his name is. But anyway, yeah, he got a rear naked choke. Ramiz looked incredible. This was a statement win for him to put his name back into the win column after his disappointing loss against Max Griffin. But yeah, he looked phenomenal. And as you mentioned, if you're getting choked out by Impa Kinsage, your submission defense ain't really there. But this gives Sasha a great opening for himself. He knows what to go back to work on right now. And that's what he really needs to do. Go back to the drawing board, work on his submission defense, his takedown defense, and improve his game. But yeah, fantastic performance from Ramiz. Back in the win column, and that was a fantastic way to start off the card. It's really set the tone.
Yeah, he would have gotten a bonus had it not been for Pantoja's submission of Brandon Royval. That was a really good prelim card that the UFC had there, and their prelims this weekend are no different. They're going to start off strong, but before we talk about that, we're going to talk about definitely the biggest fight of the weekend. It's not in MMA. It's in boxing. The problem child, Jake Paul, will be boxing Tyron Woodley, the 5-time UFC champion. We're going to give you guys a breakdown right now. Lenny, let's kick things off. What's your official pick for this fight and why?
We were talking about this before we went on air. And if you look at it, it's crazy because, Jake Paul is the betting favorite going into this fight, which is crazy. It's ridiculous because Tyron Woodley is a 5-time world champion, defended his belt 5 times, 4 times in 1 year, defeated the likes of Robbie Lawler, knocked out Robbie Lawler, and now he's fighting a YouTube star, Jake Paul. And he's the better favorite. It's ridiculous. But my official pick is Tyron Woodley.
By what
Tyron Woodley gets it done.
By what method?
And I'm gonna go TKO. I'm gonna go late.
Oh wow. Yeah, I actually think that Tyron Woodley will overwhelm Jake Paul with his power, not because he's some YouTube kid. I'm going to strip all the YouTube, all the influencer stuff off of Jake Paul and simply look at him as a 3-0 professional boxer who has only fought horrendous competition. He fought some YouTube kid to start things off. Then he fought Nate Robinson, a 5'9" retired basketball player. Then he fought Ben Askren, a guy with no hands whatsoever, a guy who only succeeded in combat sports with wrestling, something he was unable to use in the fight. So I don't know why a lot of people picked Ben Askren in that fight, but Jake Paul made it about as uncompetitive as it should have been. And Tyron Woodley, the difference between Tyron Woodley and those other guys, Tyron Woodley knows how to punch. Isn't that crazy that Tyron Woodley is the first guy that Jake Paul's fought that can put your lights out in an ugly manner like he's done to Josh Koscheck, Robbie Lawler, many others. And I think, yeah, well, he didn't put away Darren Till with the punch.
Almost.
Choke. But nasty knockdown. And I don't think Jake Paul has the heart, honestly. We've not seen this guy tested in any way. And Tyron Woodley will test him either way. He's going to get clipped by one of those bombs. And I don't think he has the heart to get back up and go the rest of the fight. So Tyron Woodley by 3rd round TKO is my pick here. Hopefully the ref knows what's good for Jake's longevity. Otherwise, he'll let the fight keep on going because I really think that Tyron Woodley is simply the more experienced striker. The good thing about this fight for Tyron, has Tyron really kicked guys? Carlos Condit, of course, but it's really not his main weapon. He doesn't really use his elbows either, neither his knees. He really liked to use his hands. But a lot of people are overestimating Tyron Woodley here. They're thinking Jake has got no chance. Believe you me, Jake Paul has a chance here. He's the more technical fighter. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, it won't matter when you're getting clipped by Tyron Woodley's hands. Tyron Woodley Of course, he did have more power with that smaller glove, but something you have to keep in mind here: Jake Paul chose a smaller Tyron Woodley for this fight. He's choosing guys that are smaller than him, but Tyron Woodley is not really cutting weight for this. He's going to be bigger. He's going to be more powerful. I think that could play a really big role here. I think that we're going to see Jake Paul get finished here, and I think he will become an internet meme.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I just want to bring up, I'm not saying it will happen, or nor I'm saying that Woodley would do this, but it's not out of the realm of a possibility of, you know, Jake Paul giving Tyron Woodley a little bit more money just to kind of, you know, fix the fight a bit. This is boxing we're talking about. A lot of shady stuff has happened in boxing before. A lot of controversy is always happening in boxing every year between the judges and stuff like that. So it really wouldn't surprise me if, you know, Tyron Woodley's getting a little bit more money to take a dive. But I really don't think Tyron Woodley would do that after what happened at the weigh-in with a Jake Paul member and Mama Woodley. I just don't see Woodley doing that. I don't think he'll get more money to, you know, to fix the fight. I just don't see it happening. I think Woodley's, you know, going in for this, and I think he's going to go for the win. This is make or break for both fighters. If Jake Paul loses this, it could be the end of his boxing career. If Woodley loses this, he's an internet meme. It's the end of his career as well. And you know, that's pretty much it. That's him. This is his last big payday.
Yeah, this is a must-win for Tyron. If he loses this, the fact that he won 5 UFC titles will mean nothing to people. He will just be looked down upon in the future, and that would be really sad for a guy who accomplished that much in MMA to just be disrespected after this. So I really think Tyron's reputation is on the line here. He's lost his last 4 fights, but those guys were world-class fighters, much better fighters than Jake Paul. So this is a step down in competition for Woodley, but in terms of pure boxing, Jake Paul will be more technical, probably will have a little more volume, but the power will change it all, and Tyron Woodley gets that 3rd round TKO. That's about all I have to say about that. The rest of the card, it's really nothing to talk about except the Tommy Fury opener. Jake Paul says that Tommy Fury is probably going to be his next opponent were he to win, but I don't think that'll be relevant once he gets finished. And there is a rematch, fellas, so we could see a second fight here, which, depending on the result of this fight, could be really bad for the loser.
Yeah, and Jake Paul was the one who requested that rematch clause in the contract, so that's also got to make you wonder: does he feel like he could lose this fight? You know, he's a cocky, brash kid that thinks he can, you know, go on to take the world by storm. As you mentioned earlier, before we went live, he thinks he could beat Canelo, and he's putting a rematch clause in against Tyron Woodley. So how do you? Where is his mentality and his mind really at? Does he feel like he can really win this fight? 100%. But is there doubt in the back of his mind? Yes, I agree. I think there is.
Yeah, 100%. But you want to talk about doubt? There's no doubt that the UFC main event will deliver this Saturday between Edson Barboza and Giga Chikadze. This will be a pure kickboxing match. Both these guys always love to keep it standing, and I don't think either guy will shoot for a takedown here. This will be an entertaining striking display from both men. And who do you think wins this one? Because I think this will be competitive for 25 minutes.
The fans win this one, and we're gonna get an absolute show-stopping performance from both men. This is Giga Chikadze, you know, first, you know, big test. Yes, he fought, you know, Cub Swanson, but Cub Swanson, you know, he's young, he's old. I mean, you know, going to the end of his career. Edson Barboza, this guy, you know, at featherweight, he's probably top 4, top 5 right now. You know, this is a big test for Giga Chikadze. And man, Edson Barboza, they both like to kick. Giga Chikadze, a former glory kickboxer. Edson Barboza, known for his, you know, the big kicks, the Muay Thai stance. Oh my God, this is gonna be such a fantastic fight. And I really don't know what way to go on this one. But in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, Edson Barboza. I'm pretty confident we're gonna see a chess piece for 5 rounds. and we're going to see Edson Barboza get the better of it and get the nod on the judges.
Yeah, the reason I'm picking Edson here is his resume compared to Giga's is night and day. Edson Barbosa's last two opponents were Makwan Americani and Shane Burgos. Giga Chikadze's last two were Cub Swanson and Omar Morales, or was it no Jamie Simmons? Jamie Simmons is barely a UFC level fighter. My goodness, the guy has gotten finished in his two outings. That was a short notice fight, and Giga put him away easily. I told you guys that would be a walk in the park for Giga. It was. He's a little untested. The first real taste of a higher level competition he got was in the Omar Morales fight and the Cub Swanson fight, and he looked really good in those. But at the end of the day, only Cub Swanson was ranked. Barboza has been in the top 15 of the lightweight rankings for almost a decade. This guy has been fighting the killers on a consistent basis. If you look at the guys he's fought, it's crazy, man. He's fought the killers row, and I think he's more tested, and he's found new life at 145. Even the fight he lost at 145 to Dan Ige, that was a split decision, and he knocked down Dan Ige in the first round. So even when he's losing, he's hurting his opponents bad. So I think Giga Chikadze is at a disadvantage almost everywhere. I think his kicks are less powerful. He's got less speed, and Edson is the better boxer. And if to mix it up, Edson's got a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Giga Chikadze, he's been submitted before on the Contender Series. So if Edson finds himself in trouble on the feet, he can go to the ground if he's desperate enough.
Yeah, if he does get to that, if he is desperate enough, as you mentioned, he has that, he has that in his locker to maybe fall back on. But I really don't see it going that way. I think this is going to be a fight that will stay on the feet for 25 minutes, and we're going to see a chess match. If you don't like slow fights, I really want to tune in. I feel like this is going to be a chess match where they're kind of staring into a mirror a little bit, and maybe we'll see, in that first round, maybe we'll see a few strikes land, not nothing significant. But I could eat my words. I feel like this is going to be a really, a really good chess match, and I feel like they're going to be staring in the mirror a little bit. And but as the fight gets on, I feel like they're going to open up a little bit more. But either fighter can't put a foot wrong because they know how good their opponent is, and then they're just going to come straight back at them. Yeah,
Edson Barboza has not only beaten the better guys, but Edson Barboza was not a guy fighting a ton in the pandemic era like Giga. Giga, most of his UFC career was in the pandemic era where he was getting these short notice opponents that he could just pick apart, which that might have not been good for his development. Let's be honest, that he skipped over some of the toughest matchups in the 145-pound division. He's getting a top 10 opponent without even tasting the takedowns of Zubair Tuhugov, a Mosar Evloev. There's so many guys that would give him ridiculous problems on the ground, and he just jumped over all of them. And I think that might be detrimental to his development in the end, to be honest, because he's going to get a little overconfident, and when these guys get a hold of him, he's not going to know what to do. But Barboza probably won't do that here. And Barboza, I would say he's got the better cardio as well. Would you not say that? Giga Chikadze has notoriously had bad weight cuts. And he said that his third rounds are going to be where he's least powerful. So that could be a definite role here. And I don't see Giga getting a Giga kick going against Edson. Edson's the kind of guy that does that to him. So Edson is miles ahead of the strikers that Giga Chikadze's fought. And one thing I can't get out of my mind, Giga Chikadze fought a split decision to Erwin Rivera, who I don't think is a UFC level fighter.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. That's pretty much for the main event. We had Edson Barboza versus Giga Chikadze, and we're both in agreement that Edson Barboza takes it.
Yeah. One thing coming up is the Ultimate Fighter finales. we got ahead of ourselves and we previewed these last week. We just got a little too excited, but we'll give you guys another quick little recap. Not as extensive as last week, but I'll start right now. This is the main event between Brian Battle and Gilbert Urbina. Gilbert Urbina got lucky here. He got knocked out brutally by Tresean Gore on the show, and Gore has to pull out due to a meniscus tear, and Urbina steps in, and he's undeserving of this definitely. And Brian Battle will probably give him some problems on the feet, but Urbina, he's got to have the better ground game here. The Urbinas are known for their ground game, and Urbina fights smart here. He can give Brian Battle some problems, but Brian Battle's no chump on the ground. He submitted the favorite to win, Andre Petrosky. He finished that guy, who's also on this card as well. Brian Battle's, I think he'll outvolume Urbina here to a unanimous decision win. How about you?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. I think this Brian Battle keeps this one standing on the feet. Maybe a few takedown scares. Gets controlled a little bit, but gets back up. But I feel like Brian Battle is the superior fighter in this matchup, and I think he's going to not cruise his way to a victory, but I feel like he's going to be fairly comfortable in this fight and become the ultimate fighter. But the one I'm really looking forward to, Ricky I don't know how to say his nickname, but Ricky versus Hidestand. This fight is going to be really entertaining.
Yeah, I think this is the real contender for the fight of the night. Tercios has an exciting style. He has unorthodox methods. He sets everything up with his jab, which is very smart in the MMA game. More people should do that. And Volkanovski coaches were really good at implementing that with their fighters. And Brady Heaston, on the other hand, he's the youngest fighter on this card. He's only 23, and he trains in Spokane, Washington, with Michael Chiesa, Josh Reddinghouse, who he beat on the show, and Juliana Pena. That's a very underrated camp. They got two former Ultimate Fighter winners in that camp. But unfortunately, Brady Heaston, the best win he had was one of his teammates, Josh Reddinghouse. And besides that, he only fought one guy with a win and beat him. That's it. Brady Heaston has fought. He's been a real can crusher, and once he fought a guy with multiple wins, he lost. He got finished, and I think Tercios could definitely clip Heaston and knock him out. But Heaston has shown some real toughness. I thought Josh Reddinghouse was going to win the whole season. Once I looked at how experienced he was, the fact that he had beaten Sergey yeah, that's a really good win. And Josh Reddinghouse realistically would have won that fight, but Heaston has that tough grinding style that gives a lot of guys problems. Would it give problems to Tercios? I don't think so, because Tercios, he pieced up Ludovic Shivalonian, who's got a fight coming up as well. That guy was a tough Armenian wrestler, and he stuffed his takedowns and pieced them up on the feet. I'm thinking the same thing happens here, so the win goes to Tercios by unanimous decision.
Yeah, you just mentioned there, Ludovic just got a fight announced against Jack Shaw. And to be honest, Jack Shaw's got, even though it's a short notice fight, Jack Shaw's got a real tough test on his hand. Ludovic is an incredible wrestler, as we saw on the show. But now we've seen him, on the show. Jack Shaw can look at the tape a little bit, see what happened. But Ludovic, man, I like that guy, and I'm excited to see him back. But as you mentioned, Ricky, I think Ricky takes this one. I predicted both of them go to the judges' scorecards, but one that could not go to the judges' scorecards, I believe, is Kevin Lee versus Daniel Rodriguez.
Yeah, this is a really interesting fight. This is only Kevin Lee's second welterweight fight. His first welterweight fight was definitely a failure when he fought Rafael dos Santos. He got arm triangled in the fourth round. This has kind of been the story of Kevin Lee's career, right? He gets a couple wins, but then he fights a talented grappler with good cardio, and that's typically the guy that beats Kevin Lee, a grappler with good cardio. Rodriguez, he's got good cardio, but is he a talented grappler? Not really. The only reason submission win he has is Tim Means by staying guillotine. That's really not on the ground, and the guillotine is kind of the puncher's chance of submissions. Kevin Lee is simply the better grappler here. He's the better wrestler. Rodriguez, he's taken this fight on short notice, but that doesn't mean he hasn't worked on takedown defense and submission defense. He was training to fight Abubakar Nurmagomedov for a good while there, and in his last fight, he fought Pierce. Preston Parsons, I believe his name was, who was also a grappler. He got an easy first round knockout here. Could he knock out Kevin Lee? 100%. But Kevin Lee is definitely the most talented grappler Rodriguez has fought in his entire career. So I'm thinking Kevin Lee takes him down, and before he gets tired, he wraps up Rodriguez for a second round rear naked choke.
Wow, I agree with you in this one. D-Rod, it only takes one shot for D-Rod. His shots come at an unusual angle. They always seem to come from his hip. He proper loads them up. He comes from a hip. He swings them a little bit wild. But if he does go 1-2 down the pipe, I feel like it could really work well in this fight. Maybe an uppercut. I feel like the uppercuts, just to show that out there. If Kevin Lee, sees an uppercut with the power of D-Rod, Kevin Lee might, maybe scared to shoot a little bit. Maybe some, defense mechanisms like that could help D-Rod in this fight. Maybe even, taunting the knee out a little bit there. He doesn't have to throw it, but, just put it out there. As we know, Lee's going to want to shoot in this fight. He isn't going to want to stand with D-Rod. The sooner Kevin Lee gets his fight to the ground, the better for him. And as soon as he does get his fight to the ground, I feel like it's going to be a quick submission win for him. I'm predicting also a round 1 submission instead of round 2.
Yeah, Kevin Lee, if he sees the third round in this fight, we could definitely see Rodriguez get a finish there. But ultimately, we will go with Kevin Lee because he's easily the most talented grappler Rodriguez has fought. So this is going to be a really interesting fight. That would be the co-main event if it weren't for the tough finales. We'll move on to two guys that competed in the Ultimate Fighter. Andre Petrosky fighting Michael Gilmore. These guys took it on 10 days' notice. They both made weight, we just saw. But Andre Petrosky is miles ahead on this track. My goodness, this is not going to be competitive once Gilmore gets on his back. Petrosky is a Division I wrestler. He's also training with the Gracies out of a great gym. And I'll tell you guys right now, Petrosky, along with Leomano Martinez in the opener, those are my most confident picks on the card. I really think those guys get easy finishes. They're going to look like minus 400 favorites once they get in there. Gilmore has been finished by submission in all 4 of his professional losses, and Petrosky will do that to him in the second round. I think Petrosky makes it look easy out there.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you on this one. I think he gets this one to the mat very quickly in the first round. Within, it wouldn't surprise me within the first 30 seconds, Petrosky is shot and Michael Gilmore is on his back. And I think he's gonna have like 4 minutes and 30 seconds to work. And I feel like he's just gonna stay patient, look for that arm triangle, and I think he's gonna get the arm triangle submission in the first round.
Yeah, I only said second because Petrosky said second round in an interview. That's really the only reason I said that. That's why I said it. Otherwise, Gilmore probably won't survive too long.
Yeah.
I don't think much of Michael Gilmore. He's only here because he had the balls to take the fight on the Ultimate Fighter on short notice against Gilbert Urbina. He got submitted in about a minute. So his submission defense is definitely lacking. Somebody whose submission defense will have to be on point if he's going to win. Makhmud Muradov, the Money Mayweather team's prospect against Gerald Mearshart. Mearshart, unfortunately, his claim to fame with casual MMA fans is a 17-second KO loss to the great Khamzat Chimaev. I don't think that this will be that different. I think Muradov has got really good takedown defense. In fact, he's never been taken down in the UFC, 100% takedown defense. And he's been tested against wrestlers, better wrestlers than Mearshart. Andrew Sanchez was not able to take down Makhmud Muradov, and Sanchez is a better wrestler than Mearshart, in my opinion. So this is going to be a rough night for Mearshart. Muradov is the biggest favorite on the card. He's a 5-1 favorite, and for good reason. He's 100% the better striker here. He's got more pop on his punches. And Mearshart was notoriously a tough guy with a tough chin, but it cracked last year. Ian Heinisch finished him in a minute, and then Khamzat Chimaev finished him in under 20 seconds. I think Mearshart's chin is gone. When he fought Fabinski only wanted to wrestle him and not to knock him out. And Muradov wants to knock him out. So Muradov, second or third round here. Muradov's not really a quick starter. That's why I'm saying that. So Muradov will eventually crack that chin. He could also get a flying knee here when Meerschaert tries to shoot. I think this is going to be another addition to Muradov's really good highlight reel. And after this, it's time for top 15, guys.
100%, I agree with you. After this fight, Muradov needs a top 15. And I feel like he's going to win this one in spectacular fashion. In the first round, I feel like he's going to land a few combinations, test the chin of Jared Meerschaert. Maybe not crack it, but I feel like he's going to land a few and where Jared's going to think, oh, I need to get this fight to the ground. Second round, he'll come out urgent, and Muradov's going to crack him, and he's going to put him out.
Yeah. I think Muradov is the favorite for a reason. Another guy who's a big favorite on this card is Alessio Di Chirico. He's fighting the ultimate round one fighter, Abdelrazak Hassan. The guy, ever since he came back from some allegations, he just has not gotten the ball rolling. He fought Manil Lazez, and he gassed out after the first round. After that, he fought Chaos Williams. He got starched. After that, he fought Jacob Malkoon. He got dominated. This has been a rough couple fights for Abdul. And just before the last fight, Deshirko was in the same spot. He was in a tough spot. He was losing his last three. But then he knocks out the knockout guy, Joaquin Buckley, in spectacular fashion with a head kick in the first round. And now a lot of people are seeming to forget that this guy, he was kind of on a skid. But he's a really big favorite here. And honestly, I'm not going to trust Alessio Di Chirico to absorb the damage from Abdelrazak Hassan. I got to take Hassan as an underdog here. I think Hassan will sleep Di Chirico. Di Chirico's never been slept, but he did get dropped with a head kick by Zach Cummings in that third round. That probably would have been a finish for Zach Cummings had the bell not saved Di Chirico. So I will go with Razak Hassan. This is always what happens. Guys will lose a couple, and then we all of a sudden throw them away, but we seem to forget that their skills will bring them a long way against a lot of guys. And I don't know if Di Chirico can absorb the damage, to be honest.
Yeah, see, I'm on the opposite. I'm on the opposite side. I'm going with Di Chirico in this fight, just because every time I bet on, or every time I choose Razak Al Hassan, recently he's let me down. When he knocked out Nico Price, I was thinking, "Wow, this guy has some power. You know, he could really do some, damage to the division." And then he ran into Chaos Williams, Jacob Malkoon. Oh man, I just don't trust him anymore. So I'm going to go with Di Chirico in this fight. He's long, he's rangy. We saw that kick, that beautiful kick that stopped Joaquin Buckley. And I feel like he's just going to stick to range in this fight and use them kicks in his arsenal. Stub him straight into the body in his middle. Use that teep to the body. Keep him at range and cruise. I don't think Al Hassan will get finished in this fight. I see this one go to the scorecards, in my opinion, but that it will be a bigger but Al Hassan can land it at any moment.
Yeah, Al Hassan is a middleweight Ngannou. Di Chirico, he's really not much of a talented grappler. I might be get some crap for saying this, but Al Hassan, he might be the better grappler. He's a judo black belt. He never shows it off. I think Hassan, he's not going to get taken down much in this fight. So Di Chirico will be constantly in danger. I think he gets clipped and put out. Somebody who I also think gets clipped and put out, I think Turman might be coming to the end of his UFC run here. He's fighting Sam Alvey. It feels like it was just 2 months ago when Turman got knocked out by Bruno Silva with concussive ground and pound. And before that, he got slept by Andrew Sanchez. I think Turman doesn't have much of a chin. And Alvey, he does, to be honest. Alvey, he's not a high-level fighter, let's face it, but he will give these inexperienced fighters legit problems with his veteran savvy. That's what he did to Dan Jung. That was a draw. He clearly won the first 2 rounds, but in that third round, his chin kind of let him down there. He got knocked down, and it was scored a 10-8 round. I think Turman does not have the durability to survive one of those counter left hooks from Alvey. I think Alvey can get the win here as an underdog.
Yeah, that's the only way I see it going, to be honest with you. As you mentioned, Turman's been knocked out in his recent fights. Doesn't look good. Sam Alvey, isn't as you mentioned, isn't the best of fighters, but, there's one thing that we know about Sam Alvey. He could take a shot for how old he is. He could take a shot, and he keeps on moving, and he'll keep coming at you. And I feel like maybe the pace and the pressure of Sam Alvey will kind of wear down on Turman. And I feel like in that second or third round, we'll see a finish.
Yeah, Turman is just he's not that durable, and I don't think he's being smart by making a comeback this quick. Doesn't it feel like the Bruno Silva fight was like last month or something like that? I don't
Yeah,
think that's smart coming back that quick after a KO loss. And now they will expose the chin once again. Let's move on to Dustin Jacoby against Darren Stewart. I'll start this off by saying Darren Stewart is in the wrong weight class. When I look at Darren Stewart, I think big welterweight. To be honest, at middleweight, I think he was a little undersized there. He's only 6 feet tall. Now he moved up to light heavyweight, and I don't think he belongs here. He's only doing it because he had a terrible weight cut in the first Eric Anders fight, and he thinks he needs to give his body a break. But he's not going to be cracking the top 15 in this weight class. There's no way. His reach is not long enough. He's too short. He's not powerful enough. His cardio is not good at all, especially at this weight class. I think that Jacoby will heat him up here. Sure, then through Carolina Obama, we seen Jacoby. He's kind of a slow starter in the first round. He might get clipped, but he'll come at you like a bat from hell in the next 2 rounds. He even took down Iwan Kutalab in that third round. I think Jacoby might get a finish here, but either way, I think he completely pieces up Darren Stewart here, and he makes Darren Stewart look terrible, and it could convince Darren to go back to middleweight. I think this is going to be a terrible fight for Darren.
Yeah, it's tough for me to say this, but yeah, I do agree with you. Glory, no, not Glory. What I was going to say is Dustin Jacoby, former Glory kickboxer, fantastic kickboxer, and oh man, Darren Stewart's got a big, tough ask in front of him. 6'3", Dustin Jacoby, a legitimate 205 pounder as well. He fits the weight class. He's perfect for that weight class. Darren Stewart, 6 foot, very undersized in this fight. I think the teeps, the kicks, the calf kicks, the leg kicks, we're going to see a lot of them in this fight. I feel like Dustin Jacoby is going to come out absolutely guns blazing with these kicks. I feel like maybe even a leg kick stoppage in this fight. I think the calves are going to get really eaten up in this fight where Dustin Jacoby is going to aim for the Darren Stewart's calves. And it really wouldn't surprise me if we see a leg kick stoppage. Darren Stewart said, no mass, no more. Can't take no more.
Yeah, I think Jacoby is deserving of a minus 250, honestly, in this spot. I think he's only like 185. I think he should be a bigger favorite. In terms of striking, Jacoby's just miles ahead and also in size. I think even if Darren Stewart tries to drag it to the ground, he's going to be outmuscled by Jacoby here. So there's every reason to pick Jacoby here.
But I'm praying that my home country man, Darren Stewart, gets it done. I'd love to see him get it done. It would be fantastic. And while we're on the topic of my own country, shout out to Brendan Loughnane, fighting tonight in the semi-finals of the PFL. I wish the best luck to him. I hope he brings it back. I hope he advances to the final, gets that one step closer to the $1 million. Best of luck, Brendan. I hope you bring it back.
Yeah, that's a tough matchup from those Dagestani wrestlers. Bring hell to any fight. And we'll move on to JJ Aldrich fighting a debuting UFC fighter in Vanessa Demopoulos, former Invicta champion, I believe. She's fought UFC level competition continuously in Invicta. She submitted Sam Hughes with an inverted triangle back in Invicta. She fought Lupita Godinez in a 5-round war. And after that, she went to the Contender Series and she lost to McKenna. Yeah, Courtney McKenna, I believe her name is. And the problem with her in that fight, she's got really good volume on the feet. She does not have good striking defense, but I think the biggest hole in the game is a ground game. She can get taken down and held down. And I think JJ Aldrich will implement the same game plan that McKenna did. just a year ago. Demopoulos is also moving up a weight class here. She was woman handled, if you want to say, by a by a strawweight Corey McKenna, and JJ Aldrich is a flyweight, so she's going to be bigger, and Demopoulos will not be able to get up when she gets taken down. That's going to be the story of this fight. That's why JJ Aldrich is such a big favorite. Demopoulos will be smaller and does not have a good ground game, so yeah, it's going to be JJ Aldrich dominating this fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. You pretty much covered what I really wanted to say. So we'll move on to the next one. Jamal Emmers taking on Pat Sabatini in this one. Yeah. A fantastic fight to start off the card. But I'm a little bit, I thought Pat Sabatini might be the favorite in this one, but it actually is. Wait, no, he's not. He's not the favorite. According to ESPN, he's not the favorite. So I thought he would be. That's the way I see it going. I think Pat Sabatini gets this one done. But what's your thoughts?
This is a hard fight to pick. Both guys are such talented grapplers. I think whoever can dominate on the ground wins the fight. I think they won't spend a lot of time standing. Jamal Emmers has the advantage on the feet. I think he's got more pop on his punches as well. So if they cancel each other out on the ground and Emmers strikes with him, Emmers has a reach and height advantage here. I think Emmers wins this fight on the feet if it's on there, but on the ground, I think Emmers might be good enough to hang with Sabatini here, and he'll make this fight close. And on the feet, he'll do more damage. That's why I'm picking Emmers to get a close split decision win here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first fight of the evening. If you haven't watched it, go watch Dana White looking for a fight. The return to Houston. The man they picked up on that show, Martinez, is fighting on the first fight of the evening. And the UFC done him favors in this matchup. He's fighting a very, Cincinnati. He's 8-6. This is a favorable matchup for Martinez. And he's got some power, as we saw in that show. Dana White looking for a fight. He put, I forgot his name. I think it was Jose Johnson, maybe, or something like that. He put him out. Yeah, he put him out, and it was bad. So he's got some really, good knockout power. And against someone who's, I don't know. I don't want to, I don't want to offend him, but I really don't think Kanati is a UFC caliber fighter, and we're going to see this in this fight. I think Martinez gets this one done.
Kanati might have been a UFC level fighter in his 30s, not when he's 42, and he's lost 5 of his last 6, I believe, and a couple of them have been by knockout. He's older, he's slower, his chin is gone, and he's fighting a guy in Leo Mana Martinez who has slept many fighters in under a minute. He's put them to sleep in under a minute. Several fighters. I think probably 9 times out of 10 he sleeps Draco Rodriguez on the Contender Series. That was an unfortunate situation for Leo Mana there. He got caught in a triangle, and that's not a proper representation of who he is. After that, he had to get 2 KOs on the regional scenes, one from Dana White. He beat a guy who lost on the Contender Series as well, so it wasn't some can. So Leo Mana Martinez here, he's got all the power to put away a 42-year-old slower Kennedy here. Leo Mana Martinez is my most confident pick in the night. I think this is like a setup fight, man. This is almost a welcome to the UFC fight. Here's a bonus. This is going to be a really great KO on the Mana Martinez side. I think Martinez will look awesome here, and his stock will significantly rise after he gets a really good knockout in the first round.
Yeah, I'm really surprised Kanati is, no disrespect, but it's still inside the UFC. 8-6, not the most pleasing record. And if you look at his last 5, he's only won 2. So he's 2-3 in his last 5. He's fought some good, he's fought Marlon Vera back in 2018, but I don't think he should be inside the UFC. And there is one problem with Martinez, though. He did miss weight this morning.
That actually might be a good thing. Maybe they recognized maybe if he cut a little more, it's not going to be good. That's really unprofessional. The UFC gave him a second shot And now he's almost spitting in their face by missing weight like that. It's not a good look at all. He's not going to get a bonus, which I believe he'll deserve after he gets a stunning knockout of Kennedy.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. It's just a shame that he didn't hit that 135-pound mark, but nonetheless, he's going to look like an absolute showstopper on the weekend. I'm really excited for the fights this weekend. Today, we've got Brendan Loughnane, as I mentioned earlier, in the PFL main event. And tomorrow, a former tough contestant, Joe Giannotti, looks to take on the Cage Titans Lightweight Championship. So best of luck to Joe Giannotti and Brendan Loughnane. I hope they bring back the wins. And then this weekend, we've got Jay Paul versus Tyron Woodley. And then we've got the UFC. We have Giga Chikadze versus Edson Barboza. We're in for a treat this weekend. I'm so excited. Which fight are you most excited for?
Man, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with Ricky Turcios against Brady Eastland. I feel like a lot of people are just overlooking the tough fights because, let's be honest, a lot of people didn't watch the season because Volkanovski and Ortega didn't have beef. Also, some people, reality TV is not for them. This was not a typical Ultimate Fighter season. They really just cared about who was the best fighter, and that's what we saw there. And Ricky Turcios and Brady Eastland are the best two fighters. They're going to go at it, and they have very exciting styles. So I think that fight is the fight to watch. To quote the great, you don't know, now you know.
All right, so just quickly before we end the episode, it's been a fantastic episode to talk about some fights. Who would be your next two coaches?
My next two coaches for the Ultimate Fighter, let's say they do it in 2022. Man, this is a tough one. Oh, you really put me on the spot here. Yeah, Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington. That's the one everyone wants to see. Assuming Covington loses to Usman and Jorge wins his next fight, let's put those two guys together and let's book it. Why wait? Why wait? The opportunity is there now. They have to do it as soon as possible.
Yeah, that would be fantastic to watch. Maybe even Adesanya versus Whittaker. Whittaker's been there before. That could be a shout, but that probably won't happen because they'll fight early stages of 2022.
Yeah, the reason I'm not as bullish on just putting coaches together on the show all the time is they have to wait a long time to fight. Volkanovski and Ortega, they were going to fight on the Ngannou-Stipe card back in March. I believe it was a month after. Volkanovski is 100% healthy. He's good to go. He's good to fight. But they're filming the Ultimate Fighter, so they can't fight. And they have to wait, I believe, how many months? 5 months. They're fighting next month now. It really delays fight. It's really unfortunate, but it appears that Covington and Masvidal do not care to wait. So that's why I chose those two.
Yeah, 100%. That would be a fantastic season, by the way. The staying, the storyline they have, it's tailor made for them to set up a great season.
Yeah, 100%. But hey, who knows? Maybe those two guys cannot coexist at all. Masvidal says, I don't care if it's in the octagon or on the street. I will fight Colby Covington one day. So maybe the heat might be too much for the show.
Well, there it is. Oscar saying he's doing too much for the show. But thank you so much for joining me, Oscar. Today, talk about some fights. A fantastic episode. We're in for a treat this weekend. Any last words that you have?
Yeah, just make sure to enjoy the fights. There's a lot of them this weekend, both in boxing and MMA. So make sure to check them out. And we'll have a really good weekend. So enjoy the fights, fellas.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for talking to me today, Oscar. And enjoy them fights. We've got a stacked weekend. We'll talk about it all next week. Thank you.